Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt, more than 200 of them, some older than Giza. In 1834, a European treasure hunter dynamited the tops off 40 of them, and the academic world rewarded him with museum contracts and called it discovery. You were never told this civilization existed, and the reason why is darker than the dynamite. The Kingdom of Kush, that's what they called it. A civilization that rose in what is now northern Sudan around 2500 BCE, nearly as old as the first Egyptian dynasties. At its peak, Kush stretched from Central Africa to the Mediterranean, controlling trade routes that made empires wealthy. They built cities, developed their own written language, forged iron at a scale that may have spread the technology across an entire continent. And they built pyramids, hundreds of them. 3 major sites, Meroe, Nuri, El-Kuru, each packed with steep, narrow-tipped structures that crowd the desert like broken teeth. 255 pyramids. Sudan has more than Egypt. That number is not disputed by historians. It's just never mentioned. Here's what they didn't teach you. For 100 years, from 744 to 656 BCE, the Kushites didn't coexist with Egypt. They conquered it. A Kushite king named Pe marched his army north, took Memphis, and put on the double crown. His successors ruled as the 25th dynasty. Black African kings, pharaohs, buried in pyramids they built back home in Sudan. The Kushites hadn't been imitating Egypt. They had been developing alongside it for 1,000 years. When they took the throne, they actually restored Egyptian religious traditions that the Egyptians themselves had abandoned. More temples, more obelisks, more devotion to the old gods than the previous dynasty had shown in generations. Then Assyrian invaders pushed them south. They retreated to Meroe and kept building, kept smelting iron, kept expanding. Their queens, the Kandakes, led armies. One of them defeated Rome. In 23 BCE, a Kushite queen named Ammonirnas launched a coordinated strike on 3 Roman-occupied cities in Egypt. Her soldiers seized a bronze statue of Augustus Caesar, the most powerful man alive, cut off its head, carried it back to Meroe, and buried it beneath the threshold of a temple. So every Kushite who entered that temple walked over Caesar's face. That is not a footnote. That is one of the most defiant acts in the ancient world. Rome counterattacked. Ammonirnas negotiated. The peace treaty she won was favorable to Kush. Rome agreed to terms, waived tribute, and withdrew. A one-eyed African queen outlasted the Roman Empire at the bargaining table. She appears in no school curriculum. But here's what doesn't add up. Meroe was rediscovered by European explorers in the early 1800s. Scholars confirmed the pyramids, confirmed the iron industry, confirmed the written script, Meroitic, and confirmed the records of the Kandakes. The evidence was there. And then academia filed it away. Egypt got the documentaries. Egypt got the museums. Egypt got the classroom posters and the Hollywood films. Sudan got 1834. That's the year Giuseppe Ferlini arrived at Meroe with a hired crew and began demolishing pyramid caps with gunpowder, hunting for gold. He blew the tops off more than 40 structures, found jewelry in one, sold it to museums in Munich and Berlin, where it still sits today. The academic establishment didn't call it looting. They called it discovery. Here's why it was erased. In the 1800s, Europe was building empires, and empires need stories. The story they needed said civilization began in Egypt and Greece, flowed through Rome, and arrived in Europe, progress moving in one direction, along one bloodline. That story required a specific kind of ancient world. A black African kingdom that ruled Egypt, defeated Rome, and built more pyramids than any civilization on Earth didn't fit that story. So scholars minimized it. When Meroe's pyramids were studied, they were described as derivative, smaller, imitative, as if the 3,000-year civilization that built them was simply copying its northern neighbor, as if Kush wasn't running iron foundries while Rome was still a cluster of hilltop villages. Johann Ludwig Burckhardt documented the Meroe site in 1814 and attributed the ruins to Egyptian influence, not Kushite, Egyptian. Because crediting Egypt was easier than saying what those ruins actually were, proof of an independent African civilization with no need of European origin. The Meroitic script is still not fully deciphered. Scholars can read the phonetic sounds. They know the letters, but the meaning of thousands of inscriptions, records, histories, royal decrees, religious texts remains locked. The resources to crack it have never materialized. That is not an accident. When a civilization gets erased, everything it knew gets erased with it. Meroe's iron smelting techniques may have spread south and west across sub-Saharan Africa, seeding the metallurgical traditions that shaped the continent for millennia. That would rewrite the story of African technological history entirely. The Kandaks give us one of the most complete records of female military and political leadership in the ancient world. Ammonirnas, Ammonitor, Nawidmak. Names that appear nowhere in a standard curriculum. The Kingdom of Kush wasn't a footnote. It was a 3,000-year civilization that bent the arc of 2 continents, built monuments still standing in the desert, and was quietly set aside the moment its existence complicated someone else's story. The Meroitic inscriptions are still waiting. 23 letters, hundreds of texts. The sounds are known, the meanings are not. The funding, the academic urgency, the institutional momentum that cracks undeciphered scripts, it hasn't come. Ask yourself whose history those inscriptions might rewrite. And ask yourself why nobody seems to be in a hurry to find out.